We decided to take a trip on a whim. Laura sat in the passenger seat, and our daughter Emily was in the back, hugging her old teddy bear. The trunk was packed with luggage and a few bags of snacks. We planned to drive 6 hours to a small cabin by the lake and stay there for a few days. The weather was clear that morning, the road smooth, and we only saw a few scattered cars along the way. By the third hour, Emily started complaining she was hungry. We stopped at a roadside fast food place, got to burgers, fries, milkshakes, and some chicken nuggets for her. After eating, we got back on the road. The sky slowly darkened, and the trees along the highway grew thicker and darker. We passed the last gas station, and Laura asked if we should top up the tank. I glanced at the gauge, half a tank left. I said we'd be fine. There was about an hour and a half left to go when the road got quiet. Hardly any cars. Emily fell asleep, and Laura was looking out the window, humming a tune. That's when I noticed a black pickup truck in the rearview mirror, trailing us at a distance. At first, I didn't think much of it. Out here in the middle of nowhere, cars were rare. But 20 minutes passed, and it was still there. I switched lanes twice, so did he. I slowed down deliberately. He slowed down too. I sped up. He matched me, keeping the exact same distance. Laura noticed my expression and asked what was wrong. I told her the truck behind us was following too closely. She turned and looked, frowning. Should we pull over and let him pass? She asked. I shook my head. Let's wait and see. We drove another 10 minutes, and the pickup still didn't pass. My stomach tightened. I pulled up the GPS to find the nearest rest stop, but there were no markers on that stretch, just endless trees and the occasional sign flashing by. Then the pickup suddenly switched on its high beams. The light was so blinding I could barely see the road. I slowed down, but he slowed too. The glare hit our car like a spotlight. It was so bright it woke Emily, who rubbed her eyes and asked sleepily what was happening. Laura told her to go back to sleep, but her own voice was trembling. She told me to find anywhere to stop. That's when I saw a small turnoff. A narrow gravel road veered into the forest. There was an old, faded wooden sign next to it, but I couldn't read what it said. I thought if I turned there, maybe I could lose him. I flicked on the turn signal and took the right. The pickup followed immediately. The gravel road was narrow, and our headlights made the trees cast wild, twisting shadows, like they were closing in to swallow the car. I pressed harder on the gas, the car jolting over the uneven ground. Emily started crying. Laura gripped the door handle, staring into the rear-view mirror. We could hear the crunch of gravel as the truck closed in behind us. Finally, an opening appeared ahead. It looked like an abandoned campsite, with a few broken picnic tables scattered in the clearing. I stopped the car, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it was in my throat. The black pickup pulled in slowly and stopped behind us. Through the rearview mirror, I saw someone sitting in the driver's seat, but his face was obscured by shadows. What I could see was his mouth smiling. A wide, stretched grin, like he wanted us to see it. Before I could react, his door opened. A tall man got out. His movements were unhurried, hands in his pockets, like he was out for a casual stroll. Laura covered Emily's ears with her hands and whispered for me to lock the doors. I hit the lock button instantly. The man walked up to the front of our car, gently tapped the hood twice, then lifted his head and smiled at me. That smile made my whole body go cold. His eyes didn't seem to focus on any of us, but somehow it felt like he knew every move we were making inside the car. He walked around to the passenger side and stopped at Laura's window. He knocked lightly on the glass. His lips moved like he was saying something, but we couldn't hear. Then he knocked again, harder this time. Suddenly, he reached for the door handle and pulled. Thank God it was locked. He yanked it twice, then tilted his head at Laura, his smile stretching even wider, almost unnatural. I slammed my foot on the gas. The car lurched forward, forcing him to step back. I sped across the clearing, back onto the gravel road. The pickup didn't follow. We didn't stop until we hit the main highway again, our breathing shaky and uneven. Laura was trembling. Emily sat silent in the back seat, too scared to cry. I glanced in the mirror, just darkness, no truck. We didn't stop again. We drove straight to the cabin, arriving just before sunrise. After tossing the bags inside, the first thing I did was check the car doors. That's when I saw it on the passenger side handle, a faint scratch. Shallow, but clear, like something sharp had dragged across it. The next day, I went to the nearest town's police station to report it. The officer just sighed and said sometimes weird people show up around those roads. He told us to avoid gravel roads and never give strangers a chance to approach. He asked if I got the license plate. I shook my head. It had been too dark. We barely slept the rest of the trip. Emily woke up crying a few nights, saying she dreamed about the man who was smiling. On the way back home, I took a much longer route, making sure to avoid that stretch completely. But even on the highway, I couldn't help but glance at the rearview mirror. There was nothing there. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the smile was still somewhere behind us, just following in a different way. That morning, I left early. In the back seat, I only had a small travel bag with a change of clothes and a few books. I planned to drive to a scenic spot in the neighboring state, spend a few days exploring the famous canyon and the old stone bridge, and take some photos. I wasn't in a hurry, so I drove leisurely the whole way. By the time I arrived, it was close to evening. The sky had that strange grey-gold glow, like it was about to rain, but couldn't quite make up its mind. The parking lot at the entrance had only a few cars. I parked, grabbed my small bag, and walked toward the overlook. It was one of those well-maintained tourist spots, sturdy railings with fresh paint, a few wooden benches where people could sit and take pictures. The overlook was big, but at that moment, I was the only one there. I could hear the faint roar of water echoing up from the canyon below. The breeze was cool, enough to raise goosebumps. I snapped a few photos and was just about to head back when I noticed a man in the distance walking toward me. He wore a grey jacket and walked at an unhurried, steady pace, hands in his pockets. What was strange was that even from far away, his eyes were locked on me. I didn't think much of it at first, probably just another visitor. But when he got within about 6 feet of me, he stopped. His gaze never moved. His lips twitched slightly, like a smile that wasn't really a smile. He didn't speak, didn't take out a camera, didn't look around at the scenery. He just stood there, staring. That stare felt wrong. It wasn't curious. It felt like he was waiting to do something, but hadn't decided when. I pretended not to notice him, picked up my bag, and started toward the exit. After a few steps, I heard footsteps behind me. Light, but clear in the empty space of the overlook. I didn't turn around, I just walked faster. Near the exit, there was a little kiosk. It was closed, but a few vending machines stood beside it. I deliberately stopped and bought a bottle of water, trying to see if he would stop too. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him. He had stopped not far away, still staring. He didn't buy anything. Didn't reach for his pockets. He just stood there. A prickle of unease crept up my spine. I headed toward the parking lot. The cars were spaced out, and mine was parked all the way at the corner where there was no one else. As I approached, the footsteps sounded again closer, keeping the same distance. When I reached my car, my hands were shaking as I fumbled for the keys. I tossed my bag onto the passenger seat, got in, and locked the doors immediately. Through the windshield, I saw him stop a few feet in front of my car. He lowered his head slightly, like he was thinking about something. Then, slowly, he lifted his face and gave me that strange, unsettling smile again. He didn't move, didn't speak, just looked at me. I started the engine, He stepped aside, making way, still staring. I pulled out of the parking lot, my heart pounding, glancing at the rearview mirror as his figure grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared by the railing. I thought that was the end of it. But the next day, at a completely different spot, I saw him again. That morning I went to an old stone bridge nearby. There were more tourists there than at the Overlook. I was walking with the crowd when I suddenly saw him. He was standing at the far end of the bridge. He wasn't looking at the view. He wasn't with anyone. He was just standing there, staring at me. I froze for a moment, then pretended to check my map and turned in another direction, trying to blend into the crowd and circle around to a busier area. But when I glanced up again, he had already moved closer. His pace wasn't fast, but there was this inevitable feeling like he would reach me, no matter what. I pushed through the people, quickly made my way back to the parking lot, and this time I was sure he followed me out. I started the car and didn't go back to my hotel. I just drove fast, heading straight toward the state border. I didn't even stop at rest areas. My mind kept looping the same question. How did he get to the bridge before me? How did he know where I was going? On the return highway, the sky darkened quickly. I kept glancing at the mirrors, nothing behind me, just the sound of the wind and my own shallow breathing. But near the state line, a grey car merged from an on-ramp and started trailing me at a distance. I stared into the mirror for a long time. Even though it was far, I knew it was him. And that was when the real fear sank in. Not because he'd done anything, not yet, but because he hadn't. He wasn't trying to rob me. He wasn't just some creep. He was just there, always there, like he was waiting for the right moment. I didn't stop, not even when the fuel gauge was almost empty. I kept driving until I finally crossed into the next state and found a gas station that was lit up. I rushed inside the convenience store, pretending to browse, but kept sneaking looks outside. The grey car was parked at a distance. He was in the driver's seat, not moving, just staring at the store windows. I waited until the shift changed and more people came in. Then I slipped back to my car and left. I didn't see him again the rest of the way home. But that feeling that someone is still out there watching hasn't left me since.